I want you to look on page 31 with me, and we're going to look at the rest of the learning objectives for this segment. Participants understand the difference between outcome and output. Participants learn the difference between provision of service and strategic thinking as methods of identifying strategies for their agency. And participants understand proxy outcomes, outcomes that stand in lieu of outcomes. And participants understand the importance of selecting strategies and services to be delivered by their agency that matches identified community needs, resources, and desired outcomes. We've talked about needs, and now we're going to talk about the strategies. If you look now on page 42, and you see that the cartoon down there, and when you look at it, that's the way a lot of agencies go about thinking. They think of it, you see that it has abracadabra and presto, as if they are going to apply magic to get the job done. This is not the way that you identify actions to achieve results. We want to think about what our expected results first, and then decide what realistic actions we are going to take to achieve them. How do we know if what we do supports the outcomes we expect to achieve? We must make the connection. And when you're looking at the community action agencies on page 43, we're looking at the two types of models that you have in the planning process. And we want to read through these because it's very important to think about as an agency considers its actions with its available resources targeted to achieving the identified outcomes for the families, communities, or the agency. Will it be a service provider, a self-sufficiency, anti-poverty agent, or both? And so we're going to look at these provisions of service model. Okay, can I have someone to read that under provision of service model? Let's read what would happen under the provision of services model. Starting with agencies, the first section there.
Agencies that are organized to meet specific short-term services such as emergency services, transportation, weatherization, sometimes serve many customers. The challenge is being able to identify long-term change in the customers' lives.
All right, there's nothing wrong with providing emergency services for families. But when we're looking at it, the challenge, as it says, is to be able to identify long-term change in the customers' lives. What about the second one?
Providing services because funding is available can distract you from a more effective selection of services and strategies.
Okay, if you're just looking at what money is out there and where can we get more money because of for whatever reason, then you might be that might distract you and from a more effective selection of what you need to be doing. So we have to be mindful of that and not being distracted by money. Okay, the next one.
Failure to link activities together to form a comprehensive set of services and advocacy strategies may reduce your effectiveness in assisting customers to move out of poverty.
All right, the linking of activities, and if you don't do that, you might reduce your effectiveness because you're not thinking about how they link together. And the last one.
Sometimes there are unintended consequences of doing the same service you always have done, enabling the continuation of poverty.
And that's something that we have to really think about, because sometimes, because we're good intentioned, We think that because we've always done that, we've always provided that, and in the end, our results might be that we are keeping people in poverty. Let's look at strategic thinking. Now, that might be the way you want the provision of service model. That might be the model that you want to go with. But let's look at strategic thinking model. Let's see what it says with that. Anyone?
The development of a comprehensive strategies must include an understanding of the power of bundling services rather than providing services that meet an isolated need.
All right, now I know we've heard a lot about bundling, and lately you bundle your telephone and TV and all of that. They bundle. What are they doing? They say they bundle because they give you a better deal. And so they are telling us that when we're looking at the services that we provide, can we look at the fact that maybe if they are bundled together and we're doing more bundling, that we might be able to give better service? What about the next one?
The agency must find ways to identify the combinations of services that are most effective for helping to change lives and support the movement out of poverty.
All right. We have to, as an agency, you must really identify the combination of services. You just can't go out there and bundle things together just for the sake of bundling. But you bundle those things that will help make a difference and that will provide the change that you want and would support the movement out of poverty. So when you're looking at what programs you would put together, which directions that they would go, you need to look at the movement out of poverty. That needs to be the thought pattern that you're doing, that you're using. Okay? The next one. In addition, anyone? I will. In addition to providing direct services, agencies must explore the impact of creating community engagement strategies, advocacy and policy change strategies, and other activities that are focused on reduction of poverty. So you know, when you're looking at what's going on in your community, what's happening with your client, then you're going to look at what is in that community that I can advocate with, I can collaborate with, that will help with the reduction of poverty. You have to look around, see what is happening out there for you that would help move your clients out of poverty into self-sufficiency. And the last one.
Agencies must strengthen partnerships to meet the needs that the agency cannot address alone.
And you know, you have to know that you cannot do everything. You can't do everything. So what you have to do is to look outside yourself and to see, is there somebody else out there that's doing something that could help make what I do better? And so we have to learn to do that. Now, when you're thinking about this, you have to decide which way are we going to think. You know, which way are we going to be? Are we going to, will we be, we use the provisional service model, or will we do strategic thinking? Which one of those do you think would net you the most help moving people out of poverty? Which one of those thought patterns?
Strategic thinking.
Strategic thinking. Okay, all right, so with that in mind, we turn to page 44, and we're going to do this activity. What are our strategies? Consider the needs identified that we've already identified and the outcomes you identified earlier, and what activities like services, intervention, advocacy can your agency implement to achieve them? Are there things you have been doing that will need to be abandoned in favor of a new service? Or are there essential services that need to be strengthened? Okay, so what I want you to do is to look at what we have here and see if we can put strategies to the services that we have, to the needs and the outcomes that we have stated. Okay, and I'm gonna ask my scribe to come. We're going to. And we just want to just quickly look at see, if we were looking at we're looking at the needs, we're saying, and we looked at the outcome. The need, we said, is a family's like transportation to work. The outcomes that we have stated here, we have them stated. And so now we want to state the strategies that we have that will help us get to this. Okay, while we're getting ready, let's think of strategies. Now, a little while ago, some of you were putting down strategies. Some of you were saying strategies. And what would strategies be? What are strategies? Now we have the needs, we have the outcome. So then what would the strategies be? The things that will help you get to your outcomes. So that's how are we going to do that? We say that our need is the family lacks transportation. And we say over here that these are some of the things, the outcomes that we want to do. We want families to secure. Let's just take the one that says family secures driver's license. Okay, and what strategies would we use in order to get to that outcome? What would we need to do as workers? What would we need to do?
Make sure to have the manual, study the manual, take the test.
Okay, one of the strategies would be that we would make sure that the client has the materials that they need to study to get a driver's license. Okay, what other strategy might we use?
You might want to find out if they can read. I have one client that's holding her back, so I told her to talk to them. A lot of times they will do it verbally, the test,
Okay.
to find out what's available.
You're going to work with your client to see their limitations, maybe as reading. Reading might be one of them, and okay, make sure that they are literate. Or would they need a man to be verbally given, the test? So you're going to secure that by, working with your parents to make sure that they can read, or they get the verbal test. What else can you do? What else would be a strategy?
The agency could provide or partner with someone to provide driving classes like they do for students.
Okay, driver's ed sort of class for your clients.
They would also need a vehicle to practice in, and that would provide that.
Okay, they could provide a vehicle. We could find a way of providing vehicle. So,
Language barriers, because we have a lot of Hispanic.
true.
And
All right. Okay, and I guess literate being all of that would look at the language barrier. That's where we are looking at the things that we would do. Thank you, Alicia. What the things that we would do in order to help our clients get to where they need. So those are the strategies that you would use in order to move them from the need to the outcome. And before you can get to the need to the outcome, you have to have your strategies. And strategies, and like we said, are things that we do in order to move them from that. And when we were putting up our logic model here, you see that need was done, outcomes was there, and there was the second column was left blank because that's the one for strategies. So we will put our strategies here because we looked at what we needed and we looked at where we wanted to go. And then we looked at how we were going to get there. You know, that's when you're thinking, that's your thought pattern. You're going to look at what you need, what your outcomes are, and where you and how you think about how you're going to get there. Okay, we're going to look at services and outputs, which is on page 45. Okay, we're going to look at the difference between outcomes and outputs. We're going to look at the difference between what we do and what happens to people's and what we do and what happens to people in communities and agencies, and the actions we take or actions our participants take, and that's called the output. You know, so we're gonna look at outcomes and outputs. Outcomes is when a change takes place. Change or accomplishing something. That's an outcome. An output is services, doing something. So, so when you look at that, when you look at outcomes and outputs, that's what you're looking at. You're looking for a change when you do outcomes, and you're looking for service when you're looking at outputs. Okay, now, keeping that in mind, that you're looking for a change in the behavior, a change in the action of the person, and for the output, you're looking for the service that happens. We're going to turn to the activity on page 46. And I want you to take a look at, if the instruction says that the statements below contains both outcomes and outputs for each of the programs. In the space provided, please write the letter OC for outcome and the letter OP for outputs. Now we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that works out real well. We want Carolyn and Bonita over here to take the first two read across and do adult basic ed and employment program. And then Lucinda, Elaine, and Derek, you'll be doing energy assistance and weatherization. Okay, over on this side, Earl and Kim and Taurus, you'll be doing conflict management programs and after-school programs. And then Pam and Carrie and Bonita, you'll be doing parent education programs and tutoring programs. And I want you to just quickly, you know, look at let's look at the first one and just try to put for the first one. We won't go into the two of them for the sake of time. Let's just look at the first one that you were assigned on here, adult basic ed right here, and do at least the first, do as many of those, and I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to look at those, okay? And you're going to look at adult ed, we're going to look at energy assistance, and then we'll look over here at conflict management, and we'll look down here at parent involvement. Okay, and just look at maybe the first three and of those. Okay, who wants to go wants to go first? Anybody?
We've got ours, I don't know if they're right.
Okay, which one did you
We've got
have?
parent education.
Okay,
And parents from 10 families attend workshops. I said output.
okay.
They're doing something.
They're doing something, okay. All right, okay, we're gonna, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I should have said, we're gonna start, we just wanted you to get a feel of how we were doing it. So we're gonna start over here with, parent education. And the first one was, parents from 10 families attend the workshop, and do about 3, your first 3, that would be fine. And we said that was an output, because they attended something, okay?
6 group workshops are conducted, and we said an output.
Okay,
And then parents' understanding of children's developmental issues increases, that's an outcome.
all right, because something changed. When that happens, something changed. Who wants to do next? Go next. Okay, Carol in your group, okay. Which one did you have? Adult basic ed,
Yeah.
okay,
We did the first one for output.
okay,
Teaching and recruitment, output from roles in AB class.
okay.
Output attends the ABE classes. Outcome completes the ABE classes. Outcome to achieve.
Okay, let's look at that one. Completes ABE classes. Okay, now, when an outcome, there's a change that happened. Okay, can you say that, some people that go to adult basic ed class, they were there every day. But they never changed, they didn't pass the test, they didn't get finished, they didn't do anything. So is that an outcome or is that an output to attend?
Well, on here it said completes the AB classes. There was a completion there.
That's what we looked at.
They meet attendance requirements. Attendance, which means that they were in class every day.
So that could be either or.
They were in class every day, but that did not say that they got their GED. Securing the GED is the what? Outcome. The outcome is when they secure the GED. But just going to class, that didn't make a change, because they're doing the same thing they always did. It's not a change. Okay, all right, we're just gonna take one more, we gotta just give us 2 of yours, Earl.
Youth are involved in fewer conflict, that was an outcome.
Okay,
And discussion session explores experience with stereotyping, cultural difference, that was an output.
all right, very good. Okay, Lucinda, your group back there?
Obtain bag of food, but, it was an output,
All right.
and, alleviate hunger,
Mhm.
we put OC.
All right, that was an outcome, because hunger was alleviated. Okay, let's look now. You are now moving to a concept that can be confusing. We have just spent time differentiating between outcomes, outputs, and outcomes. And now I'm going to introduce you to proxy outcomes. And I just want to say that proxy outcomes, we talk about emergency services using usually involves counting the output or the boxes of food, of food distribution. And we really don't know if people actually have their emergency needs met. No follow-up is usually done for these services to document the results. But it is assumed that if someone gets a food box, they will eat the food and therefore reduce hunger. This leads us to the discussion of proxy outcomes. Okay, so we are on proxy outcome, which is on page 47. Now, okay, you have the number of meals that they had would be the output. The number of people reduced in hunger would be the outcome. and the number of people receiving the meals would be the proxy outcome. Now, when you're using proxy outcomes, and it says here that there in these cases where research supports the causative relationship between the service and the outcome, the intervention, activity, or service becomes a proxy outcome, or is counted in place of the actual outcome. Now, sometimes, like if you're giving food to a bunch of senior citizens, and you're not going to do the follow-up on that to see how many of them received it. You know how many you gave out, which would be the output, but you don't know how many of them actually ate it. You don't know about that. But there's research that supports the fact that when you give out food in that manner, that hunger is reduced. So then that's when you use the proxy outcome. Same way as if you had children in an after-school program. Research says that if they participate in an after-school program, that things change. They reduce bullying. Things are reduced. They don't drop out of school as often. Pregnancies are reduced. You know, all of those kind of things, because of the activity that the children are doing. So it is a proxy outcome. Because you're not going to follow up to see how many of that, but research has already been done to prove that this is a fact. That when these things are provided and provided well, those are the outcomes that you get. All right. The key points to summary points here. Please let me remind you that right here is where you will put your proxy outcome on your logic model. If you're writing a logic model where you're using the proxy outcome, you will put it right there on your logic model to indicate that you use the proxy outcome. The key point summary for this module is: it is not unusual for nonprofit organizations or community-based organizations to first go about funds, such as a grant, then figure out what the program is about and what it is to accomplish. This kind of management has limitations, as identified in the comparison between provisional services and strategic thinking. Appropriate management is based on the ROMA cycle and using the mission, needs assessment, and identification of outcomes as driving forces in the selection. So we are here, we are planning, implementation, achievement of results, evaluation. That concludes Module 3.
Starting back up with the introduction to ROMA, we are on page 49, Module 4, implementing the plan. The learning objectives for this module is: participants will understand the importance of appraising the plan prior to implementation. Participants will be introduced to Reginald Carter and the 7 key questions used to support planning and management. Participants will be able to identify outcome indicators. Participants practice creating outcome indicators for identified needs, outcomes, and strategies. And participants are introduced to the standard set of performance indicators established for all community action agencies. Okay, we can flip over to page 50. What is our plan? That is Drucker's last question of his 5 questions. The last one is, what is our plan? The self-assessment process leads to a plan that is a concise summarization of the organization's purpose and future direction. The development and formal adoption of mission and goals are fundamental to effective governance of a nonprofit organization, and are primary responsibilities of the board. Therefore, these strategic elements of the plan must be approved by the board. Okay, if I could get someone to read the written plan, if you come down, the written plan isn't.
The written plan isn't about having strategies and outcome fixed for all time in a document, but more about proving the ability to continuously refer back to the plan as you move forward. You will review and appraise the value of each element so you can update its data as its data is collected and analyzed. The plan must be flexible enough to reflect community changes around you.
Okay. Drucker supports our premise that outcomes and indicators of success cannot be developed in a vacuum. They must be embedded in our mission and need, in the various situations facing the agency and the resources available to the agency. That means there must be a planning process in place in the agency to continuously review the appropriateness of the activities of the agency. Drucker provides us some guidelines to set the stage for this plan. He also stresses that it is the board's, as we mentioned earlier, it's the board's responsibility to manage these activities. Okay, we'll look over on page 51, implementing the plan. Do anyone here have access to their agency's strategic plan? No one? Do anybody know how the plan is used in your agency? Okay. A strategic plan guides the implementation of the services and strategies identified. It guides the collection and analysis of data that will be used as evidence of results achieved. Okay. Implementing the plan. Could someone read the gray shadow box? A well-written plan.
A well-written plan leads to sound agency management and accountability, provided that the plan is implemented well.
Agency strategic plan guides the implementation of your strategies, as I just mentioned. But before you can implement your plan, you must understand the elements which must be operationalized for quality service delivery. And those includes the 2 bullets. If someone can read those for me, please.
Identifying the fundamental elements necessary for implementation and identifying procedures and personnel for observation and reporting of results.
Okay. So if we look at the ROMA cycle, we have done the assessment and the planning. So now we're at the implementation stage. And also we are finishing up with Drucker, who his framework was set for management and assessment of programs. And we're moving into Reginald Carter and his 7 questions, which come into play with the accountability of ROMA. Okay. So we can flip over page 52. Reginald Carter's 7 key questions. Dr. Reginald Carter used his experience as Director of Planning and Evaluation for the Michigan Department of Social Services as the base for writing The Accountable Agency in 1983. And as I just mentioned, he had 7 key questions that he believed that when a program manager presents a budget for services to be implemented, these 7 questions should be asked. How many clients are you serving? Who are they? What services do you give them? What does it cost? What does it cost per service delivered? What happens to the client as a result of the service? What does it cost per outcome? As I just mentioned, these questions frame criteria for accountability, efficiency, and effectiveness. In this module, we're just going to hit on questions 1, 2, 3, and 6. And the remaining questions will come in play later on when you deal with the fiscal side of ROMA. All right, page 53. Question number 1, how many clients are you serving? If someone could read the first 2 bullets.
The number of individuals projected to be served is often based on budget and other resource data. This projected number is important as you implement your plan. Agencies must be able to provide unduplicated counts of their clients being served. Without this ability, clients may be counted multiple times.
The main key point in this, in question number 1, is to obtain an unduplicated count. Can anybody tell me how do your community action count clients, without it being duplicated? Is there a specific number that a client is assigned, or what do you use to make sure that that client is not counted twice?
Child place.
Hmm?
We use child place.
Child place. What about social security number?
We're not
Yeah,
doing that one,
plans.
you see just the last one.
Just the last four
You can
numbers.
only count for like, say like we had a breakfast for dad activity, you can only count that person one time, that father one time.
Okay. At my agency, we use social security numbers, and also we're dealing with Fax Pro. If anybody familiar with Fax Pro, they give a system ID number for each client. So we only count them as one client, no matter if they're in multiple programs with our agency. Okay. There are other factors that will affect how the agency counts clients. The agency must determine when a person or family actually becomes a client, which may vary by program. All right, question number 2. Who are they? If someone can read those 2 bullets, please, or 3 bullets.
In the plan, the agency may have identified a specific target population based on the community assessment. Upon intake and assessment, the agency must collect basic demographic and characteristic data such as age, gender, income, employment, education, disability level, race, and ethnicity. This data can clarify the outcome information.
Okay. The key point for question number 2 is we want to be able to collect a variety of demographic and characteristic data. So if we want to, if I ask you, can you tell me how many 18 to 35-year-old single Hispanic females with less than 2 children are receiving welfare benefits, has a previous job history, high school diploma, or GED, and have received Head Start and emergency service from the community action? Would you be able to tell me that? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. There are at least 11 discrete data elements in that request, and having a system that can pull that for you, with different factors is very good to have. Okay. So we can look at page 54. Carter's question number 3, what services do you give them? If someone could read the 3 bullets. Under what services do you give them? Page 54.
Determine which clients receive which service, resulting in specific outcomes. Identify how many services are offered, count, and how often services are offered or the frequency. Be able to recognize and assess the quality of the services offered.
Okay. It is important to determine the relationship between the service and the expected outcome. This is the key to any evaluation of effectiveness in your program. So the key point under question number 3 is we want to be able to actually this information is important to have if you want to actually access your impact, because different results may vary in different populations or in different group of people. Okay, question number 6, what happens to the clients as a result of the service? If someone could read the first 2 bullets.
Identify the outcomes to be achieved by the client's participation in the service. Identify the number of clients who are projected to achieve the outcome and the number of clients who actually achieve the outcome.
If there is only one service provided, it is easy to link an expected outcome or result. It is more difficult to assign or link expected outcomes where multiple services are provided. But there are 4 possible relationships between provision of services and expected outcomes. For example, one service could result in one outcome. One service could result in multiple outcomes. It may take multiple services just to get to one outcome, or multiple services could result in multiple outcomes. But either way, you know, either relationship is always important just to make that connection. Okay, we're gonna move on to page 55. Characteristics of outcome indicators. If someone could read the gray 2 boxes.
When you start adding numbers, you move from outcome statements to outcome indicator statements. The outcome statement is a general statement of change without numbers, and the indicator is the statement of how much something has changed or how many have changed.
Outcome indicators must meet all of these characteristics. They must be measurable, simple, clear, and understandable, realistic or attainable, manageable, identifies a specific client or group of clients, specifies a time frame, measures an end and not a means to an end. Using a checklist is a simple way to screen if an outcome indicator meets all of those characteristics. Some people refer to SMART, which means specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time specific. Okay, we can go move on to page 56, identifying outcome indicators. We will provide examples of what we mean by the term outcome indicators. What is school success? Asking you guys, to you, what is school success? Okay.
Students graduating.
Okay. Any other answers?
Students are achieving their goals.
That's school ready.
Okay.
Being prepared for a job or college.
Yes, ma'am. Those are all good examples. Some other ideas are improved grades, which you could measure by report card, reduce absences, data that's also on report cards, improved behavior. Those can also be indications of school success. Okay. The indicator will include the number of clients who are expected to achieve the specifically defined change or outcome in relationship to the number of who will receive the service. It will often include a timeline. So look over on page 57. We're going to look at example 1. In some cases, the outcomes achieved by recipients of service may fall along the continuum. The outcome of employment and training services to 50 clients is obtaining a job. The primary indicator is 10 out of 50 clients obtain full-time jobs above minimum wage and are employed 90 days after placement. So that's an example of a full outcome indicator. Example number 2, if someone could read the gray box.
In other cases, example given, when referrals to other services may be involved, there may be multiple outcome indicators that cross a number of domains.
The outcome of providing case management services to 20 families could be self-sufficiency. The range of indicators could include 3 out of 20 families increase their household income by 20% or more from all income sources. 1 to 20 persons open a home-based child care center, becoming self-employed. 5 out of 20 families obtain a safe, affordable rental housing, and then the examples go on. But in both of these examples, they include a neutral item, or they show where the participant had no change or did not complete the program, didn't finish up with the employment program. But both of them both count all who they intended to reach, but not everyone finished. Now we're gonna go, and I think Ms. Sandra hit on that earlier, but now we're gonna move on to an activity on page 58. Looking at our outcome that we have on the wall, how many families would you want to see secure a driver's license and automobile? If you're, coming up with a program at your agency, y'all identify the need, the service, the outcome would be that family secure a driver's license. How many families are you expecting?
Yeah.
50.
Like in a year, or?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to, you gonna give me a time frame as well.
So how big is our pretend agency? How many are we serving? Are we serving 1,000? So we're
Say,
able to
oh,
50?
How many do they need?
20 maybe?
Oh, okay.
25, y'all wanna go with 20?
20 people?
Mm-hmm.
We have
Mama
12 on our
service,
case.
20.
say 20 needed,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
driver's license.
20 needed driver's license.
Yes. Or for the outcome, 20 families, we want that 20 families to secure driver's license and an automobile within what time frame?
And an automobile, at least a year.
Yeah.
1 year?
No, the
Wait,
license.
wait,
That's a lot to do.
You saying to obtain an automobile as well? Are you putting having an automobile in that factor too?
That's our outcome is
Secure driver's license
and an
and an
automobile.
auto,
That's not gonna
That's
happen.
hard to get.
I don't know what's the automobile, but we do
that's
have
gonna be
driver's
bordering on
license
going into 2 years with the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't really come up with the
more.
services for getting the vehicle though.
The driver's license would be the first attainable one, because you can always borrow a car to learn the stuff.
So let's
Okay.
say, we can still say a year because the
So we're
license is very important.
We were just gonna focus on them getting the driver's
license,
license.
yeah.
So we want 20 of them to get a driver's license in how long?
3 months.
6 months.
3 months.
6 months.
Don't give them too long.
Anybody say
No.
3 months, raise your hand, and
I'm
6
saying
months?
3 months.
With all the stuff that ours have going on, there's no way to
6
agree.
months.
So 20.
6 months gives them too much time.
To learn to drive
And
and
you'd be surprised. Most of them do drive. All mine drive,
They're not supposed to
they just don't have a
say
driver's
we don't want
license.
it.
It's illegal.
Legally drive.
keep that to yourself.
Vanessa.
So are we gonna go with 6 months?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go with the majority. Okay, so of those 20, how many do we think are actually going to complete and get their driver's license?
12.
10.
10?
I say 5.
I would say 5 too. I think you're gonna do good to get 5.
Well, yeah, say it depends on maybe.
Okay, we hear 5, what else did we hear?
10.
5, 10, and what else? I said 12.
7.
Okay, we're gonna go with 10.
Now, are these more adults in the family than just the mom? Think about it, cause they, I have them driving all over the place with 2 parents,
Okay.
no
So-
license.
For our need, we already identified services, we identified outcome, and now we're working on what we have identified outcome indicator. So we're saying 10 out of 20 families will secure a driver's license within 6 months. And that is our outcome indicator.
So is that just supposed to be our educated guess? The
Yes.
outcome indicator? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And that's we're gonna get into that more in the next module, about actual and estimated. Okay. Now we can turn on, also, let me move to the logic model, where the outcome indicator should be posted on the logic model, which is gonna continue building. And it goes in column number 4. Okay, now we can move on to page 59. Implementation of the national indicators of community action performance. Yeah. Have anyone, I'm pretty sure we all heard of the MPIs here. Maybe not.
What is it?
National Performance Indicators.
Okay. From the 2003 NASCAP report, Community Services Network is moving to balance the localized nature of its work and outcomes with the need to create a more uniform and accurate national accounting of how community action improves conditions and opportunities for low-income families and their communities. The national performance indicators are about community action, not just about CSBG block grant. Outcomes should be counted and reported from all relevant community action programs and activities. Each national indicator is followed by sub-indicators. There were 92 indicators and sub-indicators and a section of items which are service counts in the original set of MPIs. And I think, did they just update that, Angela? It's gonna be new?
With the ROMA Next Generation, they are looking at changing some MPIs under that.
All right, we can flip over to page 60, please. Beyond national performance indicators. When MPIs became the basis of performance portion of the information system or the IS report, it was acknowledged that by focusing on the most commonly identified outcomes, other outcomes would not be reported under the MPIs. Someone could read the gray box. First gray box on page 60.
The national performance indicators reflect only a portion of the work and accomplishments of community action. This is not our complete story, but a selected sampling of what we do.
Community action agencies are encouraged to continue to report annually on the full range of outcomes in addition to reporting on only the required national indicators. There are blank lines following each of the standard indicators where agencies are invited to include additional indicators. Changes to the MPIs are made periodically based on the input of information systems task force. Okay, and that closes out module 4. I'm going to give you the key point summary of this module. A plan must be well written, clear, and realistic if it is to be implemented effectively and efficiently. The final plan should be appraised periodically and is to be used as a guide to implementation, not just put on a shelf. Implementation of the plan needs good communication systems to support it. We identified the outcome indicator. The indicator is used to quantify the expected results, how many will succeed in achieving the result out of the total number served. What is the expected time frame for success? So we did all of that. The connection was made between ROMA, outcome indicators, and the national performance indicators. The power of the MPIs is that they are a standard set of indicators. However, the MPIs are limited in that they only cover outcomes that cross community action agencies, or common set of outcomes. They do not cover all of them. Agencies are invited to include additional indicators. And Mr. King will come with module 5.